Kwa hiyo na nini ni download au ina search kule tu inakuwa.
Tulia kwanza. Ndio download nini tena?
Hii ambayo umekuja kuconnect na hii.
Wako na nini?
Sasa hivi nimekubali.
Lakini mbona itoke huko? Transition nadhani hapa sijui. Tuone uko inatokeaje. Wewe tuko wapi? Tuko na streamia huko eh. Tulia. Damn it. Bado hii ndio ingie huku sasa. Hii channel ingie huko afu itokee hii hapa. Sasa hii
nilivuta. Nikivuta sana kutuza ile content.
Nuru.
What it is, folks. This right here is 16 yo, me now, Chris Grace. Me myself.
Kwa tuko naonekana nini? We Nuru. Shwari.
Shwari. Haujatoboa?
Nini?
Nani na hiyo live stream.
Tobo.
Event.
Tobo. Muda sio mrefu tunatoboa.
Hamna njaa, wewe ni kula.
Mbona mapema? Saa 7. Muda umekimbia. Mungu wangu. Hivi iko private eh? Sasa mbona inataka kadunchu?
Ukivuta hayo
unapoteza. Huko uweze kuvuta. Lazima yani hiki kinachotokea hapa ndicho kinachoonekana hapa. Iko bia yenyewe wapi hapa? Subiri kidogo madam.
Okay.
Naona. Hii setting hapa ndo bado sasa. Kiki kitu tayari. Wameenda likizo, wameenda kunywa chai. Si ndio?
Hapo.
Sababu wasikiki. Wewe unawasikia mbona angalia kwenye channel? Unawasikia?
Huku inanionyesha huku inakuja. Ndio huko ndo nani moja.
Tuone.
Huko anasema bado. Si ndio hiyo hiyo.
Tuone kwako imekuja nini? Imejaa.
Imejaa.
Basi ndio live. Basi ngoja ni push. Sababu kwa ionekana sasa. Okay, imekubali. Sasa hapa ndiko iko private. Mbona iko public?
So, good morning everyone. Good morning dear participants.
Good morning.
In another time zone. My name is Pilar Abello. I'm from the Stockholm International Water. And it is a pleasure to welcome you all today to this webinar, Water and Open Government, the Cases of Armenia and Ghana, which is co-hosted by the OGP Support Unit, CIWI, the Water Integrity Network, World Research Institute, and Fundación Avina. Bringing clean water and sanitation to everyone is one of the primary challenges faced by the world today. And with the support from the OGP, multi-donor
ngoja niweke sawa hii channel, mtaipenda. Niacheni miezi miwili kwanza. Mimi ndo watetezi.
Fanyeni vitu
mimi ndo watetezi. Ngoja niweke sawa kabla mtamleta mtu aje akae kwenye line yake sawa. Vijana mko hapa mfanye kazi zenu pompo mnasubiria tu.
This webinar today will highlight lessons and challenges based on existing water commitments in Armenia and Ghana. But before we get started, allow me to go over to some housekeeping and format of today's webinar. The first part of the webinar will be reserved for the presentations, and then in the second part we will allow time for questions and answers. But we would like you to remind you that during the webinar, only the presenters will have access to the microphone, and the participants, you can use the public chat to either exchange ideas, make comments, ask questions, and also share any other additional information with the whole group. At the end of this webinar, the OGP support unit will share a copy of the presentation and the link to this recorded session. So if you have not been able to attend it today, or you know someone that hasn't, it will be available in the coming days. So this was just the introduction, and without more delay, I'm pleased to introduce you today the speakers. So welcome Adna Karemi Oates. She's the Program Officer on Thematic Priorities at the OGP Support Unit. We have also with us Isaac Aido. He's the OGP point of contact in Sekondi Takoradi in Ghana. And then we also have Edgar Pirumian. He's the Head of Water Resource Management Agency in Armenia. Thank you all for being here with us today. Let me hand over the floor to Adna.
Thank you very much, Pilar, for the introduction, and warm welcome to everybody that's joining the conversation today. It's a pleasure to see so many people on the webinar. I know that many of you may be quite familiar already with the Open Government Partnership, but we also have colleagues with us today who are not as familiar. So for their benefit, I want to take these first few minutes to provide some background and explain what the Open Government Partnership is, as well as give a short overview of how the Open Government Partnership platform is being used to achieve improvements in this sector, in the water, sanitation, and hygiene sector. So the mission of the Open Government Partnership, or OGP, is to help transform government at both the national and local levels, from a government that serves itself to one that serves its citizens. And we believe that this happens when governments and citizens commit themselves to the values of accountability, participation, inclusion, and responsiveness. And they work together to put forward reforms that reflect those values. And you can see on this slide that OGP was founded in 2011 by government and civil society advocates who came together to create this unique partnership of government and civil society. And since the founding in 2011, we have grown to 78 countries, as well as an increasing number of local governments, such as Sekondi Takoradi, who is presenting today, as well as thousands of civil society organizations, academic professionals, and private businesses. At the core of OGP and how it works is this domestic dialogue between government and civil society, and they together, through an action plan process, put forward 2-year action plans that include concrete reforms or commitments. And the progress of each member, OGP member, on these commitments, in other words, are they following through on what they said they were going to do in this action plan, is independently monitored through the OGP independent reporting mechanism, and it's also publicly shared and discussed.
It's time for lunch. I'm going for lunch now.
So in terms of how this sector, water, sanitation, and hygiene, is represented within action plans in OGP. This is an area that is certainly growing within OGP, but it still remains somewhat unpopular or unexplored. And often we find that that's because governments and civil society aren't sure how they can use open government approaches to make improvements in the sector. And this webinar is one of the ways to improve knowledge on this topic and to share some ideas. So historically, since 2011 and since the founding, we've seen OGP members put forward reforms or commitments that one, and this is the middle of the slide, that create transparency about water and sanitation services, such as accessibility, for example, to water and sanitation services. A second area of commitments has dealt with creating transparency about the governance or the management of the water sector. And then a third area has been about establishing public accountability in the sector, such as through citizen monitoring and feedback initiatives. And so far, we've seen 65 reforms or commitments in this sector in action plans, meaning that there have been more than one commitment by a member. So we have several countries that make 2 or 3 commitments in the sector, which is great to see. And slightly over half of those have already been assessed by the independent reporting mechanism. And on the right side of the slide, you can see that most of those that have been assessed have been classified as ambitious commitments, with well over half of them already substantially completed. So today we're going to hear from 2 OGP members, Sekondi Takoradi in Ghana and Armenia, about their commitments. But I wanted to list just a couple more here very quickly, and if anyone is interested in knowing more about them, we are happy to share more information. One is from Uruguay, and it has a commitment in its 2016 action plan that is about getting civic participation in the National Water Plan. So what Uruguay did is they launched a dialogue as part of which nearly 2,000 citizens, academics, and government representatives contributed ideas for the plan and its implementation. So, you know, they really took an important step in terms of citizen engagement in what the National Water Plan should look like. Another example is from Brazil, which established a universal data platform for its Water for All program. And this data platform allows the public to continuously monitor the program's progress and results, which greatly enhances accountability. So those are just two examples, and we can share some links to these particular commitments in the chat section later in the discussion. So for my last slide, I want to discuss some recommendations that OGP developed as part of the global report last year. And the global report basically did an analysis on a few policy areas, including this sector, to suggest to OGP members what they could move to next in order to address the challenges that continue to exist in this sector. And these areas can be broken down into 3 buckets. So the first one is that OGP members can continue to make progress on the data side to improve decision making. So for example, this includes producing better data around coverage, better data around service over time, and finally, data that's more disaggregated, whether it's at the regional level, municipal level, or by certain groups within the population, particularly vulnerable populations. And this allows better tracking and comparison. And then the second bucket is that OGP members could push further on the transparency side and open the policy process. For example, making information on planning and finance data more publicly available, or by establishing monitoring systems, or building equity into plans to target vulnerable populations. So these are all the different ways, that OGP members could push further on transparency in the sector. And then finally, the third bucket, and this is something that has been, I would say, particularly missing in commitment, but in fact has high impact.
I just want to know how that's got to be hard to clean up. Where do you store that thing? No, I didn't. Now that's cute. See, that's tasteful soaking. I can get behind that. Oh my God. Lord, in the name of the Lord. Oh my gosh, Jesus is the Lord. That one don't sit right in my spirit. I'm just gonna tell you all that.
All of these are really important in terms of opening up the water sector and opening up government more broadly. So I'm going to stop here. I'm happy in the discussion section to answer questions about any of this or provide more information. But I'm going to turn it back over to. Thank you very much. And before giving the word to IPAC, and this has allowed us to start making effective reality. So why do we believe that we promote this media? We believe that a lot of government support can help the government serve it also facilitates coordination but then also to resolve some of the estimates of information the user or activity it allows for user so as I would say in the open government partnership allows provides this good mechanism with here we have associated services of government and civil society outlining these action plans with specific steps and commitments. What we want to have at the end of this is that policies reflect people's needs and people's needs in a better way. So for the countries that decide to join the OGP, provide different benefits. First of all, we could have an expanded something concentrating on water delivery from the open community. It also seems this multi-stakeholder forum for achieving the national goals. It can also help countries to extend already water reforms can be prioritized through this community action plan. It also helps to build trust with government systems. And then as Adna was mentioning, the independent control mechanism provide also helps to reduce accountability. So our goal as a community of practice is to bring together those two sectors, the water sector, the water practitioners, the water knowledge, and then the open government experts and knowledge from also other sectors countries. So we want to facilitate this knowledge sharing and different initiatives and approaches that can in the end improve transparency, inclusive participation and accountable decision making. So on
the activities that we have planned for the next year, we are planning to provide help or support to different members, government, society, technical information, so we can provide that kind of support. Then also we are planning to develop different products, knowledge products, to share knowledge of different studies, commitment. We are also organizing different learning events, learn here, events, webinar, or different and then also we are trying to send international and national so on the events that we have already conducted last year, we were working in Stockholm, we launched in November 2019, we were in Spain, up to 2019. LinkedIn. Recently in Dubai, we held over an open data. We brought together open data performance and water performance. Basically, shape this agenda of open data for the blockchain. And then, most recently in Australia, we organized a workshop with regulators, water to discuss what will be the different initiatives implemented by either regulators or either to promote the open data. So some of the activities that we are also conducting, we are develop this newsletter that is going to be every 3 months, so if you will see disorder, and this newsletter aims to collect different initiatives and use cases around the world on open government. We have also been very active in writing different blogs, like in or tools or mechanisms to be used by the country. And as the next step, this is the first one, this is the first webinar video tape. So from today till next year, we will be organizing webinars on different themes. Today was the more general one, but as we organize the next webinar, we can make it more specific areas. Then we will be developing different knowledge products. One is a step guide for we will be continuing with the newsletter initiative. One of the main activities we are planning for next year is to draft an OGP water regulation designed by OGP members as well as civil society organizations, and we want to establish an agenda for government. So if you are willing to collaborate on this, please write to us because we will be happy with this effort, draft this declaration, and then also if you will be willing to sign the declaration. As I was explaining before, there is also this help desk support, and this is more focused for countries and civil society, specifically to have commitment to their national or local action plan. We can provide also the support into and there will be some in-country support and So you can join us to this community of practice by either bringing water sector experts through the commission process at both national or local level. You can also participate in the different events and webinars. You can also share with us water tools and resources. You have cool people that you would like to see highlight newsletter. You can contact us and all right together on the newsletter your experience of mobile community. You can also join us by developing new commitment ideas or also be part of the OGP declaration. We will be sharing PowerPoint, so we are here in practice declaration and also on identifying different opportunities for stronger engagement with the water and environment. Here is our email, so if you want to be part of the community of practice, please write us an email or contact us. So we will be adding you to this contact database, and then we'd like to so this was an introduction of the community of practice, and I want to explain that if you have questions, we will be addressing the questions at the end of the webinar. So now I'm going to give the word to Isaac Aido, and he's the OGP point of contact for community study in Ghana, and he's going to tell us about the sanitation commitment. Isaac, over to you.
Hello. Hello. Yeah, I hope everybody can hear me.
We can hear you, Isaac.
Yeah, okay. I think like you have read in my name is OGP for I will start by saying that Ghana is one of the new countries in Africa with poor sanitation practices. And to address this challenge, the current government has established a policy for the sanitation and water resource ministry. So the goal of the ministry is to contribute in the living standards of Ghanaians through increased access and use of safe water, sanitation and hygiene practices, and sustainable management of water resources. According to the Ghana Living Standard Survey, which is compiled by the Ghana Statistical Service, only 35% of households across the country use public toilets. 19% of households across the country resort to smoking sanitation. 81% of Ghanaians have access to good sanitation or entirely without toilet facilities. So you can see the picture at the national level. When you come to secondary Saturday, about 78% of households residing in informal sector in the secondary Saturday have undesirable access to toilet facilities. Only 17% of residents in the secondary Saturday have access to good household toilet facilities. The over our reliance on first public service facilities, which is about 33%, which are mostly in rural population, has given rise to high incidence of open education, health conditions, and spread of some communicable. The situation of inadequate and sensitive facilities is further confronted in at the basic level. Out of the total of 260 basic schools in our metropolis, only 24% have access to college, funeral and hand washing facilities on their compound. The increasing awareness situation of the Kenny metropolitan evidence in the 2017 district table sponsored by UNICEF and the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, where NGA played 201 out of 260 estates. So some of the benchmarks that they use are potable water. So these are the that reform our commitment. So how was the process of developing our commitment? I might say that this commitment was grown over from our first action plan, which was prepared in 2016 and implemented in 2017. Our second action plan. The process of developing this action plan was very participatory and active involvement of all stakeholders. Capacity building from the multi-stakeholder group, community level engagement, focus group discussion, questionnaires for the media, radio discussion were employed in the process. We were able to expand the number of community engagement from 4 to 6. So in the 2016 process, we went through 5 phases. And I must acknowledge that when we were developing our first action plan, we received a technical support from WAVE. Then they had funding from Indian State Corporation and the Human Foundation. They came on the way from US to support us prepare our first action plan. So in that, we went to 5 phases. The first was on phase. The first phase was desktop and design research, where they did a desktop with information. Then we move on to the second phase, where we had consultation and sensitization. Then the third phase was for exploring opportunities. Our fourth phase was developing and prioritizing commitments. Then our final phase was action and development. So this was the most important during the first phase. The first action plan that came out with commitment and sanitation. Then during the second action plan, one thing that we have to do, we improved tremendously upon the first program. So we had a great that the first phase was taking stock, stakeholder mapping and building anything for a good stock. Phase 2 was building capacity, stakeholder consultation and brainstorming sessions. And the phase 3 was turning citizens' priorities into concrete commitments. Move to the next question. Was involved. I've categorized them into 3. The first one, we have the government officials, environmental health officers, we have waste management officers, planning officers, that's for then the city mayor. Then when it comes to the civil society organization, we have global community, Friends of the Nation, FDMA, ESQF, the Red Social Foundation, African Women International, by the organization, yes, then the media. Then the third group is rural community, market women, landlord association, people living with disabilities, then people living with HIV, that's the marginalized group.
Naambia. Shingapi wanataka?
Naomba ulipe 5,000.
Kiongozi ameshaleta?
Kiko jikoni hapa.
benefit, I also see that the process has created a certain space for the marginalized and the vulnerable to participate in governance and international. Also, the test of community outreach through local media outlets such as radio, public access, local dance, ensure deeper understanding of the cooperation and open government issue to ensure ownership and sustainability of the commitment that we have developed. What was positive on the process was the positive like of the process of democracy. The first one is that one, the involvement of broader stakeholders, i.e., reconstitution of the multi-stakeholder group to ensure the broader implementation through a thorough stakeholder management. The multi-stakeholder group forum was reconstituted for 15 membership, largely represented by government. Now during the first week of our action plan, now to 40 membership with a good balance between government, civil society, and other stakeholders. The new membership consists of 17 representatives from government, 50 representatives from civil society organizations.
According to a pagan's tradition, the sin from the spirits of the dead come back. But Dad, as Muslims, we don't believe that. Food and candy would be given as a sacrifice to make the shaitan happy. Dad, that's completely un-Islamic. I know the pressure of wanting to fit in, but our Islamic identity always comes first. Dad, teach my let's get out of here. Phil, bless you, bye.
Out of this number, 799 were women and youth. 27 were persons with disabilities, and 26 people living with HIV and AIDS. And another 10,000 people were indirectly reached through several radio programs. And with this engagement, the people dialogue with what relevant government representatives on open government approaches to enhance service delivery in infrastructure, water and sanitation, and land use management. Another positive side was the diversity of stakeholders was very significant, from civil society organizations, government, private sector, community leaders, landlord associations, persons living with disability, persons living with HIV, Bishop, farmers, students, and the media. So you can see the positive side of our engagement. The number of people that were involved in crafting this commitment is the plan. Some of the lessons learned. One, political and leadership commitment is key for successful cooperation and implementation. Two, active involvement of all stakeholders ensure ownership and sustainability of commitment. The creation of stable space for the vulnerable and marginalized groups and giving them a sense of what? Belonging and hope that they are part of the government process. Then, what do I see? Who is involved in the implementation? One thing I must say that the stakeholders that were involved are all also being part of the implementation. We have the government, we have the civil society organization. So you know, some of the civil society have been working in the water sanitation sector for long. For example, global community, SPM, African Women are those, we also have Catholic Foundation. So these are the stakeholders that we are drawing experience from in the implementation, and they were also involved actively in the drafting of the committee. We have the media giving a lot of awareness, creating a lot of awareness. Assembly members, you have the landlord association, then you also have the private sector. What do I see as a challenge and benefit from being this initiative integrated in our OGP? Now, from my opening and the questionnaire that I gave, that we are not in a good when it comes to water sanitation, we are lacking. So reside in the informal sector or are not urban poor. So funding to implement this commitment so that we can achieve our aim is a challenge. And since most of the households are in the informal sector, in the metropolis or the urban poor. So what we are doing is that we are looking at other funding mechanisms where we want to propose revolving funds, then a saving group among the urban poor, so that the small amount that we can mobilize, we can also support them, because now any kind of intervention will also see what the people can do. So normally some of the interventions, for example, the benefit here is that, like, it opens up the policy process for all citizens to contribute. The integrity of state commitment into our OGP is that it will open up the policy process for all citizens to contribute. For us, all of us to come together so that we can, solve this problem. Then how is the collaboration between landlord, resident association making a difference? Then this collaboration, one, we are now working with them to exploit innovative appropriate public technology as well as funding opportunities in the implementation of this project. Like I said in my item, that now we are looking at how we can mobilize them so that they can contribute bigger and then whatever support that the municipality can offer. Then we also have an NGO head funding. This is what we have. And so some areas also working with local banks so that we can also mobilize the household landlord so that we can the reason why we want to every stakeholder has agreed that water sanitation is the major problem for any country. All the ESO, the members, they are resources, both technical and financial, they are offering this to the municipal or the water system so that all of us can help tackle that we are so in order for us and our main target here is that ensuring availability of sustainable water where we are tackling by to achieve adequate and equitable for all, and we are targeting end open education, whereby we are paying special attention to the need of women and care to improve vulnerable education. So, when you look at it, target under the group, we are how we are changing achieve it, we are way better is perhaps one generate a more accurate data on the availability of how to and also develop a strategy on how to close the gap. 7 low so with the lab machine we are all the stakeholders now know that the challenge we are all working together. So we are
Thank you, Dr. I would like you to take 5 and they will be addressed. Edgar Pirumian, who is the head of water resource management in Armenia,
Yes, thank you very much. Pilar, do you hear me? Sorry? Okay. Okay. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude for giving me an opportunity to present the State Water Cadastre Establishment experience in Armenia. Okay, let's start. After the Soviet Union collapse, a situation in water resources management sector was practically safe for all post-Soviet republics. What do I mean? There are many problems connected to water resources management, to system management. I would like to emphasize, I would like to highlight 3 of them. First problem is it was a centralized system of water resources management. What I mean saying that? I mean what provision of water use permit or licensing was implemented by a central office or department of authority without taking into consideration any hydrological or hydrobiological or hydrochemical features of water resources or characteristics. Neither surface nor ground. situation was getting worse if we had shallow mountain rivers, as you know. This approach brought to the quite serious situation for water resources, such as inadequate water quality, water scarcity, inappropriate water allocation between water users, etc. Besides above mentioned, I would like to mention about second general issues. Was that different authorities were responsible for different water resources. We faced a situation where water resources data were accumulated in different authorities. And when our ministry, some decision makers, started to implement water resources management, started to set some package of water resources further, it was like wandering in the dark room, because we didn't know anything about the specific situation in question. Providing someone a water use permit, decision maker really didn't understand about required available water resources. Recognizing that, the government launched a step-by-step process of water resources management reforms. Undoubtedly, these reforms had to bring us to integrated water resources management implementation. First of all, one of the most important steps towards these reforms was an establishment of appropriate legislation framework. In this slide, I would like to mention about 4 general steps towards reform, towards implementation of something not mentioned about only state water cadastre. And first important reform, it should be legislative reform. And as a result, an absolutely new water code was developed and adopted by the government in 2002. This code was developed according to state-of-the-art principles such as integrated water resources management principles, including basin management principles, etc. And as a cornerstone of this resources management, as I mentioned, was the principle of IWRM. Because of lack of time, I don't want to reflect on it more detailed. I'm sure everyone, our presenters or our participants know very much about this, approaches. But for the right and useful implementation of the principles of IWRM, only river basin management was not enough. We needed a tool that had to collect all required information on water resources and users in one place. Because I mentioned about that, all data was absolutely correct. And this tool would be a powerful instrument, integrated water resources management, including basin management. And in such a way, the concept and the meaning of the state water cadastre has been established as a legislative unit in the water. According to the water code, state water cadastre is a permanent operating system that which keeps comprehensive records of quantitative and qualitative data on water resources, water intake, watershed, composition and quantities of material and biological resources, which are extracted from the water basin code, as well as records of water users, water use permit, and water system use permits. concept covered entire possible data, water resources, water users, and systems, as it was mentioned below. Besides the water code, the number of government decrees regulating procedures of cadastre conducting were adopted. So, sorry. Okay, in this slide, I would like to show the main legislative reforms. The second reform, the government decree, was adopted to the maintenance of the state of the cadastre in 2017. So, the next important and significant step towards reforms are establishment of institutional basis. After that was the technical maintenance, and in the end, implementation. Okay, in this slide, I would like to present you the entire territory of Armenia that has been shared according to hydrological principles to the 6 basin areas. I would like to mention also that 3 of them already have basin management. Okay, what do we have next? An institutional basis. In 2002, in the structure of the Ministry of Energy Protection, Water Resources Management Agency was established, which was the main responsible agency for water cadastre implementation. Agency in its structure has a division of water cadastre and monitoring. In this slide, I would like to present the main institutional basis. So, but legislative and institutional reforms are still not. The next important step was technical maintenance of the conducting and implementation of the state water cadastre. What do we have here? The main supporting platform for the cadastre conducting is a state water cadastre information system. The system consists of water users' data, including actual water use, water resources and system information. Same systems, I mean artificial reservoirs, pumps, etc. Pipelines. Besides that, it includes geological information system as well. The next system for cadastre conducting, that is not still finally ready for use, is 3D modeling data and software on air values, artisan groundwaters. I'm very briefly trying to describe the situation very around technical. The Berry is a big underground reservoir drinking quality waters with positive galvanic pressure. Because of tremendous overuse of this, the positive galvanic pressure balance drops significantly. And this came to that approximately 32 settlements were practically like water for irrigation and drinking purposes. Now we are trying to recover this reservoir as related and food well, imitating some types of water rights. The next technical tool that I'd like to mention from cadastre implementation is horizontal and vertical connection between stakeholders and different social groups that are interested in water management, that are responsible for implementation of water resources management. This tool is under construction still, but developing this approach we are trying to create some connection, some reason between the stakeholders who are responsible for different water sectors. For example, hydromet sector and the surface and groundwater monitoring, water quality users responsible for water systems, environmental inspectorate, etc. All these stakeholders will have some limited access to data information system and will download the water available information available for them. Later, when all these tools will be developed and established, the main cadastral data and water will be available as open source for social sector. All this data will be transformed and available for calculation and connectivity and implemented out of storage. With support of project ENI phase, a water portal platform is being developed now. This platform will have all information required, all information that is required for transfer during water management activity. The most important tool for transport management of water resources could be online water use permit. This is a very useful guide, very useful tool for potential water users. The platform contains information on the required documents, obtaining water use permit, and adopted application forms. Besides that, the platform significantly reduces communication between people, officials. This slide shows the index, first page or index page of the state water cadastral information system. Here you can see application water use permits, actual water use permit, discharges from information, observation for water resources, observation for hydro, monitoring data of fresh groundwater resources, ecological flows, annual pollution of water resources, water quality, groundwater, etc. As you can see, we are trying to cover all possible data, all possible interactions between water users, between sector and nature. So, this slide shows as we make surveillance of hydroelectric stations for actual water use, including actual water use. This graph shows power stations. And this is 3D modeling data and software that is under development now on our groundwaters. Okay, and this is the tool that I talked about, the online water use permits platform that very soon will be ready, very soon. And this platform also will be available online page. So, okay. What the state water cadastral development perspective for us? First of all, involvement all possible stakeholders, including public participation. As I mentioned about involving all stakeholders, can achieve transform resources, involving all stakeholders, as authorities, the public sector, including different NGOs, or people who is interested in water resources management plan. And this goal can be achieved making transparent state water cadastral data as well. Second, development supporting system, developing supporting system for decision makers, water permit application evaluation stage. Establishment and accomplish and fulfill water cadastre is not an end in itself. This data must help as decision makers as a public. Another tool that should be designed and established that will analyze all necessary and available data at the whole range of water bodies. It will help us to provide with the very right and equitable decision. In its turn, such tool has to be useful for water users and people also to understand water management procedure, understand visible. And third, development perspective integration. I take what wanted to basin management. As I mentioned, we have big basin management integration. And decentralization of state water cadastre through these organizations will help to accomplish state water cadastre issues, state water cadastre data. Okay, on this slide, I would like to show you an involvement of all possible stakeholders, including public participation, decision making, creating a strong reason, strong vertical and horizontal movement and connection between each other. Here we have perceptual stakeholders, local civil society, media, communication channels. This slide shows us the proposal of two data management activity. Things that I mean to mention are vertical and horizontal vision between all stakeholders, with who will be responsible for downloading the water data into the water state cadastre publishing. Okay, and this is the last slide that I would like to talk about. This is the development supporting system for decision making. This is just structure, our perspective of our destination of that tool that could help us, not only decision makers, also very useful for people who want to be water user, people who is very interested in water management decisions, water management problems. And this system will be very useful, and this system will relate on the transparent water-based data, water database. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Please, if you have any questions for now, we will have 20 minutes for questions and answers. And maybe let's start with questions. We have
No, that one would have been more expensive. So the marginalized group were not hard to reach because we established the rapport with their leaders.
Sasa watu wanaongea na
And
skati.
they link
Hamna kitu kama hicho.
up to the various groups to be able to engage them. Then the second question was how else are we measuring impact in terms of water and sanitation improvement? I must admit that for now we do not have a more accurate indicators that we are using to measuring impact of water and sanitation. So what we are going to do as part of our multi-stakeholder, as part of our OGP trust fund, fund that we are going to benefit from. One critical area that we are looking at, I even mentioned that we want to generate a more accurate data on the availability of household toilets, because the data we have is quite old. So we need an updated one, a current data on the availability of household water and sanitation facilities. Then from there, as part of we are going to engage a consultant to do that for us to develop a more data. And this data, we want to make it accessible online so that people can access this data. So we want to engage a consultant to do this for us. Then from there, he will, together with the consultant, we are going to develop indicators that the metropolis or the assembly we can use, to measure impact of our water and sanitation, because there have been some level of investment into the water and sanitation sector. But since we don't have these indicators, a formalized one that we are using to measure the impact, it makes things very difficult. So we are going to work with all the stakeholders. Then we can come up with indicators that we can use to measure. So we will also call on you so that we can also help us during this the indicators that we can develop, so that it will help us to measure this impact. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Isaac. I'm going to take one question to Edgar, and then there was another comment from Philip Songa that is addressed to both speakers. So let's go first to the question to Edgar. And Edgar, they're asking you, James Letten, who could you convince the public authorities to open access to water information for all? He says water information, particularly how much its corporate users can be sensitive information.
First of all, I think that every country should have a political will. If they have a political will, all steps will come into implementation. And public authorities, I think public authorities, do you mean NGOs or something like that? I'm continuing. If we mean, for example, NGOs, it's very useful, it's very important to design some reform, to design some legislative act to involve NGO sector into the decision making. In this case, we have in Water Code some regulations. Maybe Coach, I answered also to Coach Spider at the question. What mechanism or practices exist to hear from citizens' problems, quality issues citizens have? So, I'm adding that procedure to giving a water use permit includes public hearing part before decision making. And this platform is very useful for us. Many packages of water use permits have been not adopted, have been rejected after after hearing the public hearings, So?
Thanks. And I would like to address this comment from Philip Tonga. He was saying that in both presentations, in the one from Ghana, they did not reference a link to IWRM, and on the IWRM, there was not reference to the WASH. So he would like to think if you think that the two of them should be integrated and the links between the WASH sector and the IWRM one should be more looking into when we talk about open water management from the bottom up. So he was saying, what do the speakers think? And then secondly, he said that none of the speakers has mentioned the SDGs. So not even the SDG 6, how does OGP promote the achievement and aligning with SDGs? So maybe this one can be taken by ASNA. Thank you.
Thanks, Pilar. And thanks, Philip, for your question. I think actually Isaac did discuss SDG 6 towards the end of his presentation and how they're addressing the needs specifically of children, girls. But I think it is an important point to come back to actually, because the SDGs are certainly a framework across policy areas for the Open Government Partnership to, align with, the values and the goals within the various SDGs with commitments. And this is a kind of guidance that we provide to the countries that we work with to as much as possible integrate the various SDGs, including SDG 6, into how they write and in the commitments. The commitments are supposed to be very specific, are supposed to be ambitious, are supposed to have a very concrete sort of steps and milestones within a 2-year timeline. It doesn't mean, that you try to do everything in 2 years, but that you maybe spread it out over several action plans. But building in what the SDGs set out is, should be very much part of what you put in those milestones. What are you working towards? And we have a lot of OGP members that are doing this in various policy areas. On justice, for example, on gender is another example. But I do take your suggestion that this, is an important thing to integrate in the way that we publicly talk about the water work. So it's very, very well taken. I appreciate that. Pilar, do you have anything to add from the water community of practice perspective on this SDG 6 question?
Yes, thank you, Asma. Yes, as you were saying, for us, it's obviously linked to the SDGs agenda, and yes, I think Philip's point is very well taken into we should start trying to link better these two angles. But of course, the agenda on improving water and sanitation service delivery, it's obviously linked with the SDG, not only the SDG 6, but other SDGs like SDG 16 and so on. So thank you very much, Philip, because it's true that we can try to make it. Thank you. I don't know if there are more questions. There is one maybe someone is, can you please mute yourself if you're not speaking now? He says, according to appropriate authorities, flood forecast has high accuracy in Armenia, but because of absence of near real-time data for research centers, it is not possible to have public control to that accuracy. And he says, is there any step regarding such issues? Maybe EPCA, if you want to respond to this.
You mean like cold spider questions? Sorry.
Yes, if you could respond to Stefan.
Okay, yes. Undoubtedly, we have a lot of mechanisms and practices to make public hearings visible and hearable. First of all, according to Water Code, a number of activities should be provided by public hearings. First of all types of basin management plans that should be developed must be, before adopted by government, must be implemented in this way. Public hearings must be implemented. Second one, water use permits. Before give water users a water use permit, we should arrange a public hearings. As I mentioned above, many packages of water use permit drafts were rejected only according to public hearings data or their negotiations. Besides that, water standards, according to our national legislation, also should be adopted. Before adoption, the public hearings should be arranged also. It's very briefly.
Thank you very much, Oscar. Maybe you mute. Yeah. No. So yeah, there was one question that we missed before, and the question on the SDGs. The first question was initially on the link with WASH and IWRM. From CWI's side, we definitely think on the same line as you were saying. I mean, we believe that this link should be made we should start going outside the traditionally silos that we have been working on recently, like the WASH people and the IWRM practitioners. But I'm going to let either Isaac or Edgar to comment on this. How do you see this in your day-to-day? Is it something that is being discussed? Like, are you establishing these linkages between the WASH and the IWRM sectors?
First of all, I would like to mention that, as I mentioned above, state water cadastre is a very powerful, very useful, very huge instrument to water management in all sectors for Armenia. And if we are looking at WASH as a water resources management, it's one part of water resources management, it also could be included, because knowing all water quantity and quality data, we should respond in the right way and very correctly to change or to correct or to recover any WASH problem. And okay. No.
Yes. What about Isaac? Do you have any comments on this question about the link between WASH and IWRM? How are you working with this?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. For the integrated water resource management, when it comes to water resource management, mostly it's done at the ministerial level. So we at the municipal or the local level or the sub-national, we collaborate with the Ministry of Sanitation. But notwithstanding, we will see how, because our focus mostly is on the WASH, how that's our mandate as a municipality, how we can, improve access to water and sanitation for our constituents. But mostly the water resource management stands at the highest level. The minister is in charge, and we collaborate. So we will also see how the role we can play in this the wash in the IWR money.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, first of all, to the OGP support unit for helping us organizing this, to Katrina and Adna. Thank you to the speakers, Edgar and Isaac, for your very good presentations and enlightening about the sanitation and the water cadastral commitment. And thank you to all the participants that joined. This is, I'm very happy because there was quite a big number of participants, so I'm very happy that this is generating interest. I have been posting the email in which you can contact us to join this community of practice. And the idea is that we start generating and sharing more knowledge around the open government reforms and the water one. So in the end, we can achieve the SDG agenda and improve water and sanitation services by fulfilling the human rights. So thank you very much to all. We will be uploading this presentation as well as the recording video. I hope to see you again in the next webinar. Thanks, everyone.
Hola, hola. Por favor, proyectar Teams.
Headsets para question. Do you have the headset? Buenos días. Buenos días. Good morning, everybody. Gracias a todos por estar acá. La verdad que para nosotros es un enorme placer tenerlos. Esta es una de las oportunidades únicas que nos da el estar saliendo de la pandemia, poder habernos encontrado todos anoche, compartido juntos un trago, la verdad que impresionantemente felices. Voy a darle la palabra sin más, para darnos unas palabras de bienvenida a Roberto de Michele. Roberto de Michele es el jefe de división del área del BID, que se llama Innovaciones para Servir al Ciudadano, que es la división que trata todos los temas de transparencia, gobierno abierto, capacidad institucional, servicio civil y otros tantos temas. Así que, Roberto, tenemos full house, no sé si nos ves bien desde ahí. Bienvenido, gracias Roberto por estar con nosotros, te paso la palabra.
Muchísimas gracias y no sé de qué agradecerte, Juan Cruz, porque vos me habías dicho que la reunión iba a ser en Quito y lo único que hago es ver fotos de ustedes pasándola magníficamente bien. Yo estoy aquí en Ecuador y no hay nadie, así que a mí me engañaron. Pero bueno, me alegro muchísimo que